Hello, everyone in the room and online. I hope you can all hear me. So welcome to the session on collaboration between researchers and MPA managers to monitor and assess MPA management effectiveness. So my name is Tina Centri-Geno and I have a co-host.
Good afternoon to everybody. I'm Valentina Cappanera from Portofino MPA in Italy.
Yeah, so and I come from the Institute of Nature Conservation from Slovenia. So at the beginning, maybe just to share a few technical information that we have interpreters with us. So if you're speaking, either use the microphone, or if you are an online speaker, we will make note of you, and the interpreters will interpret your questions. Please make sure that you represent yourself, what's your name and where you're coming from when you're presenting your questions. And also, please, if you're not speaking, to mute the microphone so we don't have any interruptions in between. And also, please take note that this session is being recorded. So we have to inform you or make note that this morning in the plenary session, we were working on this common definition of what MPA management effectiveness is. And we have to have this common definition in mind today when we're thinking about our question, or the question of the session, which is the collaboration between MPA managers and researchers. But have this specific definition in mind when we are going in more into details with our session. So how this session today is going to flow. So first a few words from Valentina and me, and then we will have 3 speakers presenting their case studies to us. After each speaker, we will have 10 minutes of discussion dedicated to the specific case study. And after the 3 case studies, we will have a general discussion where we will come up with some hopefully good recommendations that will fit into the common MedPAN agenda that we're trying to basically work on this session according to MPA management effectiveness. So just a brief introduction today. What our main goal is, that we know that sometimes researchers and MPA managers have different views of what MPA management effectiveness is. And today, these 2 hours, we should really try and keep in mind that we are trying to focus on what are the tools and what are the common grounds we can find in order to face this very important question of effective MPA management. And therefore, this session should contribute to the key recommendation of the post-2020 Mediterranean MPA roadmap, which is to improve the collaboration among researchers and MPA staff in order to develop the MPA management effectiveness we're all striving to. So Valentina, if you want to continue.
After the presentation of each speaker, you will have 10 minutes to do questions regarding specifically the presentation. But at the end, we will start a discussion, a more general discussion. So you have to keep in mind that the objectives, the goals of this session are these. The first one, we should find the good way to build a common vision, and not only between managers and scientists, but also among all the stakeholders of an MPA, in order to reach the objectives of effective management of an MPA. Then we should identify and discuss which are the which could be the key drivers to improve a collaboration between MPA managers and scientists in order to carry on a good monitoring activity inside the MPA, but also in order to assess, to evaluate the effective management of the MPA. And then we wants also to reach the objectives of the objectives to use the right tool and the best, which are the best practice to use in order to act a good collaboration between MPA managers and scientists. So, thank you. I can invite the first speaker. Yes, I can invite the first speaker, which is from Italy, from the University of Bologna, Eva Turicchia.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you to be here. Thank you, MedPAN, for allowing me to be part of this network and this amazing workshop. For me, as a scientist, it's like, okay, it just started the workshop, but for me, it's like mind-blowing because as a researcher, I'm learning what you are facing, the challenges that you are facing from a management point of view. And I truly believe that we can collaborate each other. And so the two main actors that are in this session are researcher and MPA manager. But I think there is also another actor really important that are the local stakeholders, or as you can see in this picture, we can identify there as marine citizen scientists, because they can work both with the researcher and managers. And yes, each actor has their own question, like scientifically or management or conservation, and they have their own tools. But like Pierre highlighted this morning during the plenary, we have one big, huge, common aim, that is the environmental conservation. We all strive for that. And so, in this presentation, I would like to show you a way that scientists, citizen scientists, and manager can collaborate with each other. But before, we have to set kind of a toolbox. And for me, there are 4 points that are really, really important. And first of all, a standardized protocol to collect data. And in this case, this can be provided by scientists. It's their work. And another point are open access data, because yes, we can collect a lot of data. Managers during the monitoring activities, research during the research activities, and also citizen scientists. But if we don't share the data, it's an effort that we do, and it is a multiply. But if we share the data, it's a good starting point because we start to collaborate, and the effort is not minimized because we all work together, but at least is more efficient. Another really important point is the use of freeware tools, because sometimes scientists, they develop a lot of, I don't know, index or a way to monitoring protocol and so on. But sometimes it's difficult to communicate with the manager and give them tools that can apply in autonomous way. And I think that freeware tools are really important. And the last point is tuned indices for environmental status assessment. That is why we are here. And using indices that can provide the status, the ecological status of the environment, and that the researcher can apply these indices quite easily. It's a good way to prove the management effectiveness of the MPA. And no, come back. Okay. And here there is the MedSense index. This index is a biotic index that put together these three main actors: the researcher, managers, and citizen scientists. And this is like a bridge among them. And okay, there was the QR code to download the article that is open access, but you can ask me later. And this index is, I will show you now. So it's based on an international network of volunteers that is called Reef Check Mediterranean Sea. The volunteers aim to collect data because they care about their environment. So they are really passionate about collect data, but they collect data in a certain way using a standard protocol that I show you in a minute. And we have no boundaries, because you can apply this protocol and then the index all over the Mediterranean Sea, because sometimes some projects that involve citizen science are local, they have a local aim, but we want to do have a regional scope because we are a network of MPA. And I think you can see someone, you can spot someone in the picture that already did the course. We did in Spain, in Albania, in Italy, of course. And we teach how to apply the Reef Check Med protocol. Basically, the protocol is founded on 43 species. This species was selected for ecological reason because they are sensitive to human impact, different human impact like trawling or exploitation, but also to global climate change. There are also two invasive species like the algae from the genus Caulerpa, Cilindracea and Taxifolia. And the volunteers, after a training, they collect data about abundance, including the absent, because it's really important to point that, and the bathymetric range of the species. Moreover, other information like the geographical position, the visibility, the kind of habitat, and they are responsible for the data they collect, and they submit the survey on online platform. Try again. And when, since they are data collected from citizen science, they are freely available. As a Reef Check, we firmly believe in a fair policy for data sharing. Indeed, every year we upload our data set on the major data container, like Emonet and Eurobis. And so all the data are freely available to everyone, just acknowledge that you are using it. And Reef Check born in 2006, so we have more than 20 years of collecting, of monitoring. And we have like more than 6,000 observations across the Mediterranean Sea, and more than 1,000 trained people, and 6,000 surveys. And as you can see from the map, the data are not evenly distributed because mainly are from along the coast of Italy because it's where reef check born. But we are really willing to spread this protocol, and we are starting in the past year to spread and hoping to collect data. When you upload your data, they are not instantly available because there are some quality check procedure before uploading in EMONet and Robis, and so freely available. But if you as MPA manager apply the protocol and you want your data, you can ask, we can do some quality check and give it to you as soon as you need it. And so what we did, we did a sensitivity assessment on a subset of 25 species because the index, the MedSets index, is developed for rocky shore and corallinous habitats, so not for Posidonia meadows or sandy beaches. And so we select among the protocol 25 species, and we did a sensitivity assessment. And what I think is really interesting from a management point of view, that this sensitivity assessment is based on the unextricable true pressure and impact of the marine strategy framework directive. So what we did, we started from the table. This is a short, just for an example. There are the three main categories of pressure: physical, chemical, and biological. And for each of them, there are the pressure. For each of the pressure and for each species that we selected, we did the sensitivity assessment based on a guide developed by the Marine Biology Association. In particular, we give a score for resistance and the resilience of each species to this kind of pressure, and we give a score. So what and how we can give this information to the manager? The freeware tool that I was talking about at the beginning. And so we develop a free plugin on the free open source Q Geographic Information System, QGIS. A plugin is like an app for the one that are not familiar. You just downloaded it and take 30 seconds to do this task. And then you have to give the data that we provided to you. You have to draw a sector, that the area that you want to evaluate, and then run the plugin. And what you obtain, a map like this one, which the sensitivity of the area. And now talk about the result. So I choose as a case study the Croatia, because we have enough data to compute the index, but I would like to point out that yes, we have not the minimum requirement for apply the index, but we don't have a lot of data, and more data we have, more the results are accurate, and the index perform better for sure. So this is take this this result just like a preliminary result. And also I use a layer with the special protected area and the site of community interest, but they are quite a big area. So you can perform your evaluation also for small area, like in Portofino MPA, that we have a collaboration that's like decades. We are able to compute the MedSense index also for the monitoring those set by the MPA manager, because we have a lot of data. And so there are some areas that perform better, other that perform lower. But what you can see that there is a discrimination. So you can say, okay, this is good, this is less good, but so what can I do to improve my marine protected area? And another thing that is really interesting for you and for the management effectiveness is that, do you remember the three main categories, physical, chemical, and biological? You can do a map and evaluation scorporating these three categories. So you can see which is the main pressure in your MPA. And so you can acting properly for try to diminish this pressure. And I think it's really interesting for you. Like, I don't know, I take the physical, for example, map. You can see in the area of Rovigno, that is Rovigno, Pula, this is a big city. So maybe there are some anthropogenic impact related to the big city, the port. But for example, in the south of Croatia, where are the Tlašica and the Kornati National Park, maybe it's more difficult to reaching because you have to go by boat or a little big journey. And so in this case, maybe it's better also for this reason. But on the other hand, for the biological, we can see that it performs a little bit worse, and maybe there are some invasive species in this area. So according to this pressure, we can act directly. Another thing that you can do is when I told you about the app, the plugin, I skipped one part, that you can select the time frame that you want to compute. So I don't know, you start a conservation action in 2022 and you collect the data and perform the index. In 2023, you collect the data again, and you want to see and compare what happened. And you can do this because you can select the time frame. And in this case, okay, this is, you can see by the map that I show you, but here is another way to show it. This is Seca del Papa e Tavolara MPA. And in 2006, you cannot see over there, but there was a mass mortality event of Gorgonians. Sorry. Of Gorgonians. And you can see that before the mass mortality, the index performed better, but after the mass mortality, the value of the index dropped down. So you cannot do nothing directly for a mass mortality event, but this is for show you that you can perform also temporal analysis and see if your measurements, conservation measurements are effective. So these are kind of not the pros and cons, but some stuff that are penalized and some other that need work from both the other side. So it's only biotic index for coral region and rocky habitat based on citizen size data right now. It's based on a scientific protocol, is suitable for local and regional assessment, is a bridge among research and management and citizens, and increases stakeholder and tourist awareness because they care about what they are doing. And so maybe also some measure that you apply are better received by the local population because they knew what is going on. And it's based on Marine Strategy Framework Directory. You have a free and user-friendly QGIS plugin, and there are quality check procedures. So the data set is good. However, as I told you, it's suitable for rocky coralligenous habitat, so no Posidonia, no sandy beaches. And the more data is available, the more powerful the index is. and need a strong collaboration among MPA managers, scientists, and stakeholders. Because when the MPA create a network among stakeholders, they collect a huge amount of data. And in ITER trainings, to compute the index is recommended. It's all written, all of the articles, scientific article are open access, but it's recommended. And you need to constantly engage volunteers over time. So the recommendation, I think that it would be recommended to use an index or approaches that assess the ecological quality status, allowing tailored conservation measure. And also adopt approach that involve stakeholders, as we say also in other session, to increase the public awareness, and use accessible user-friendly tools for managers, and also establish a strong communication between managers and researchers. This is really important because sometimes, I don't know, we do a proposal together, and or the proposal finish or is not funding, okay, bye-bye. And we don't talk to each other. Sometimes this could happen, but I think it's really important to maintain collaboration and talk, and always scientists are really available to answer to your question. So it's really important to invest in this thing. So if you have any question, I would like to thank you, and be free to ask me also later and chat with me.
Thank you, Eva. Maybe just stay here for now, just if we have some questions. So Valentina, maybe you have a question first?
Yes,
We have, okay,
question.
yes,
Because
please.
the next presenter, maybe. I have one technical question for you, because you mentioned the plugin, but is it for smartphone or for PC?
It's for PC because QGIS is a free software that you can download on your PC, where you can do geographical analysis like map and something. And then there is the plugin, and it's a tool, and you can download it. It's really available.
But how can you evaluate the risks and the effects based on your data?
Because if you, I don't know, you have your MPA, and it is divided, I don't know, in strictly protected zone and another zone with less strictly protected. And but before they are not, okay, start again. Okay, we have an MPA with a level of protection medium low. And you applied your the protocol and see what the result that you have. And after you start a conservation measure, I don't know, this area, then we split with highly strictly law enforcement. So I don't know, no one can dive. It's a no zone in Italy, I don't know. And the other is less restricted. And you applied the protocol, maybe not after 1 year, but after 2 or 3 years, you can see that the area perform better according to the index, because I didn't mention that in the species range from algae to fishes, so you can see what's going on. And this index is not intended to substitute the monitoring index that you are using right now. I don't know, Carly, ESCA, or the one that you're using, but to complement them, because this is the part that when you involve your stakeholders, so you can increase also the collaboration with them. Hope I've answered.
Sorry, I have a question too. Do you have any results in terms of application of this index for the management of an MPA? You have a lot of data. So in a different part of the Mediterranean or Italy and Croatia. I don't know if you have any example in these terms.
I'm here for starting collaboration with managers. No, because I have the research vision. We have published papers about that, scientific papers, but I really would like to have a feedback from management, and when maybe we can start a collaboration on long term to see if we can change something and using also this index.
Okay.
Hello, thank you, Eva, for your presentation.
Thank you.
My name is Yoros Payadas. I am from the Department of Fisheries and Marine Research in Cyprus at the government. I would like to ask you, is this reef check in the Mediterranean Sea project, does it have a special duration? And I guess if it is funded under a project, do you have any, do you have already some plans how you can, how you see this, how do you safeguard that this good quality of information that you have created with citizen science has a duration and also a usefulness in the future, because it is amazing to create voluntary teams in order to gather a lot of information about management of MPAs. And I guess this creates for you and for the team challenges. And as you already said, you are here in order to look for also for collaborations. I would like to know how the volunteers teams see this project, and if you are the coordinator, how you see the future of this project. Thank you.
Okay, I see it bright. I have to be positive. No, okay, we start in 2006 and we are still operating. So for citizen science project, I think this is a huge, because most of the time they start by funding from European projects. So they last 3 years, 4 years, and then it's difficult to continue to fund this kind of project. Our approach is yes, participate in for sure in different international projects. We are in different of them. But most of all, we invest in people and in the network of our trainers, because they are almost spread in all Italy, and they love what they do, and also they spread the word, and they teach how to apply the protocol. From a budget point of view, we okay, yeah, we sustain by European project, but also from donation, because we are a no-profit organization. We are library agency, I don't know, casa editrice. So we sell also some book, and the training material that it's mandatory for the volunteers that follow the course as a small price. Think that we didn't change the price of this kit since I think at least 10 years, and there is a book and a plastic sheet that where they can use to collect data, a t-shirt for engagement, and so mainly that's it. And also when we form a trainer, usually a diver manager that maybe has a background of marine biology, after they sell the course and by their own, so they also profit in some way from this kind of collaboration, because they offer a new approach for the guests to dive and to come, and they increase the awareness of their guests about environmental conservation. And so it's also a good point for them, and they acting also very responsible underwater in this way, because they knew what that is important to preserve the marine environment, the species, and what is going on, because sometimes they don't know. At the beginning, I started as a scuba diver. I wasn't a marine biologist. I want to just go dive down. But after a while, I lost the interest and I became a marine biologist. So I changed my plan, but I wasn't aware when I started. Yes, I love it. I was curious, but I didn't know. And I think this is the main point. And we have a baseline of data, so it's really important to have this.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Eva.
Hi.
I'm Lydia Alvanou from Greece, the Natural Environment and Climate Change Agency, and especially the Axios Delta National Park. So could you elaborate a little bit about the sort of data that you collect? Because I didn't catch it. So what sort of data? And also these 25, you said take taxa, is it just fixed and in every country, in every part of the world, it will be like that? It will be, let's say, absence, presence, or abundance of the same taxa always? Or do you add some according to the ecology of the area?
Okay, regarding the protocol, we have 43 taxa, and they are not just focused on coralligenous rocky habitats, but they can spread among all habitats. You can find also in Posidonia nido some of them, or in wreck. So it's a quite a huge list, but I didn't tell you that, I tell you that they were selected as for ecological reason, but also because they are quite easy to identify by volunteers. And we decided not to add more species to this 43, because when we selected them, they correspond to like a group of impacts. For example, gorgonians, we cannot select all kind of gorgonians, but we know from literature that they are sensitive to diver impact or climate change. So we select some species that represent also some other, because we cannot monitoring all of the species, and we decided not to add more because the protocol now is standardized, and we are collected from 2006 for these 43 species. So we decided at least right now not to add them. And about the data that the volunteers collect, they collect information about latitude and longitude of the dive site they are surveying, the bathymetric range of the dive. So we knew the dive depths that were they investigate, the time they spent monitoring, because sometimes when you are diving, I don't know, you are a photographer, you spend a lot of time taking pictures, but if you decide to do the monitoring dive, or at least for 15 minutes, for that 15 minutes, you monitoring the species that you select and that you're more comfortable to search. And so we know that we found this species, I don't know, one time of, no, so I don't know, we searched for 5 minutes and we found one hippocampus. Okay, but if we search for 30 minutes and we found an hippocampus, it's different. And so it's important that we record this data, and also the kind of habitats they survey, and the visibility, because less than 1 meter it's not worthy. And for about the species, the taxa, the bathymetric range, and the abundance. The abundance are for classes, because it's more easier for the diver to identify, just like 0, 1, 2, 3 to 5, 6 to 10, and so on. And they upload the data with their own code, personal code. So if we have some doubts during the quality check procedure, we can contact the diver and say, okay, are you sure that you have seen, I don't know, Corallo rubrum in the middle of Posidonia middle, because it's not, so we can ask if we have some doubts. I think.
Thank you, Eva. We can go on if there is no question. Okay, online. Now we let the floor to Arturo Lopez from Spain.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I want to thank MedPAN for inviting me to this so interesting workshop. I'm a biologist, an ecologist, and I'm not marine biologist, but I have worked in protected areas all my life, almost 20 years in Latin America, putting together parks and reserves and managing, and 20 years in the Mediterranean, here more in the marine realm. And okay, I want to present two experiences we have had in the Mediterranean with monitoring systems, which have been made public and are very well known by the local society. Where? Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. We in fact we have two big challenges for monitoring. One is that most MPAs have at least three objectives. These are three types of objectives. Yes, one is conservation, but usually there's a second objective, which is some kind of support to local sustainable development. And also there's a third objective, right, about outreach and communications. And then we have another, science sometimes can provide data on the first of the objectives, but we might have, and usually all the local society will accept that we want to have a better environment, but not necessarily all will accept that the changes that the protected area might bring into the socioeconomic context. So if we want to have to be effective in all the objectives, we have to take care of this. And also we have another challenge that reality is changing permanently, that there are many actors and that most of the future cannot be foreseen. So we have to be adaptive. Yes. So these experiences show how to engage many other actors into the MPA objectives. So it's not necessarily about science or researchers and MPAs, although if I have time at the end I can mention another couple of cases in which science and fishermen are working together with a very successful monitoring. So we have to understand that we are working on real territories, yeah, even marine, but not laboratories. I mean, the context is permanently changing. I did the wrong thing. Okay, so we need to know where we are, which is the baseline, yes, data. Then we have the objectives, where we want to go, what's the desired situation, which are these MPA objectives. We think we'll have a straight line. We don't never have a straight line. That's much more reality, and that will be not bad because we are losing track, but at least we can recover and come back to the original track. Yes, that's much more the reality in case we have a monitoring system. That's what we call adaptive management. Yes, but really the strategy to think about is to progress. We have to progress towards the objectives, but we have to adapt to the changes and add as many allies as possible on the way. Yeah. So all players should keep coherence, yes, with long-term objectives. Now let me show you 2 islands in the Balearic, in Spain, Menorca and Ibiza. Menorca, after in some way of this monitoring process, the society is pretty conscious there about the situation of the island. They don't want in their island the same massive tourism as in the others, and it was declared a biosphere reserve, the whole island, and he now has declared almost 20 years ago the 2 first marine reserves. It's part of the process. In Ibiza, we did the same thing about 5 years ago. There's an observatory called Observatory of Socioambiental de Menorca. If you put OBSAM in Google, you'll get all these details. And the same for Ibiza. It's called Observatorio de la Sostenibilidad de Ibiza. It's not particularly for MPAs, but it includes MPAs. But that's not the point. What I want to show is how to engage the others. Well, we started with, I mean, when you speak with the technical people, they bring a lot of indicators. And what we found is that the first, in 2001, the academic sector came with over 100 indicators, which was not possible to work with. Then we did a lot of workshops with different sectors, and reduced this to 25 more synthetic indicators after the meetings with the stakeholders. But finally, even 25 were too much, and we thought that there should be a kind of selection of 10 synthetic indicators that were meaningful for the general public. Of course, we're speaking about an island that has 60,000 inhabitants, and almost everybody knows each other, and it's easier to do. I don't know where to point with this. Okay, very quickly, I'll show you just as an example which type of indicators are this one. After the meetings and workshops, everybody agreed on 4 particular environmental threats. One is the freshwater consumption. I think this is all around the Mediterranean, and the increased need of the island to import water. So the synthetic indicator that everybody will understand and is meaningful is the water table level, because it's all pumped from outside. And so the interesting part of it is that the responsible organization to follow this indicator is the government of the island. Then not the conservationists, so to say. Then another threat, the excess of tourism. You have it almost everywhere. The landscape disturbance, overbuilding of the coast. The indicator between these 10 synthetic indicators, yes, that was agreed is the secondary density of secondary homes, which is the massive thing in the place. So the municipalities agreed that they will provide this indicator every year. The third one, I'm not going through all of them, but there's one threat that was recognized, which is marine impacts, marine biodiversity, disturbance, sport fishing, increase of nautical recreation, so on. Of course, I mean, there are indicators, specific indicators for all of these, but they agreed on two. One is the mooring over Posidonia was the time now at those times. Now it's at the beginning, we had to count the boats sitting on a cliff and counting the boats in August and July. Now it's done with a drone, much easier, and with GPS and I mean, now it's much easier to do automatic. And the other indicator is the breeding osprey population. This is a sea eagle, the osprey, and it's rare. And it's only in places where the coast is not disturbed and there's enough fishing and so on. And they found that that was a nice indicator. And that's the second one. Who are the responsibles for this? Well, the university, the local researchers, and the local NGOs. Then there are another 3 social indicators. I'll just bring one. I think it's interesting, which is the overpopulation of the islands, tourism overcrowding, excess demand of resources. So there's one synthetic indicator, which is the island occupation, what we call the daily human pressure. You can see this is January, and after May, I mean, the island has 60,000 inhabitants. It goes up to 200,000 in August, and then back again, you know. And you can get this data easily through the port and the airport authorities. So who? Because we usually ask ourselves what to monitor, but it's very interesting to ask who can do it, because monitoring is an opportunity to share objectives and to keep engaged others in a common vision of the future, yes? So who? Well, in this case, it's the island government, the universities, local universities, research centers, also the businesses, because there are other indicators that have to do with consumption of gas and pollution and CO2. And the NGOs, of course, the diving centers. And how it was articulated. In both cases, there has been the establishment of what we call an observatory of sustainability, but you can name it any other way, for in this case for the islands, which is run by independent organizations which have a good knowledge of the island, are well known, like the Instituto Menorquín de Estudios, which is a local institute, or the local environmental fund of Ibiza Preservation Fund. And you can visit their websites. They have very good websites on this, those two. But what's more interesting, and here's where I want to come, is that we invited from the beginning the media, the local TV and the local press. And we found that they are very interested in this, that it's good news, it's beautiful, it's environment, it's knowledge about their islands, and they started to have interest and to publish in the newspapers that everybody was meeting to find indicators of sustainability and so on. Now they're using not only press, now it's in Facebook, and there are many other means, no? But this answers the next question. I mean, for whom are we monitoring? Who is going to get the information? Not only the MPA manager or your boss, yes, or the research institution, but of course the managers, the government officials, the other stakeholders, but also the local society as a whole, because they receive it well through the media. These data are feeding the local NGOs with data that then they campaign, yeah? And so they do their work with better information. Schools, the teachers like it and will go with the children to take data as well. Well, this is what we call citizen science, yes, but it's all under the umbrella of these observatories. So these 10 indicators for the general public, the publishers, the reporters, I mean, the periodistas, how you call it, the people who work in the press, they invented this semáforo, is a traffic light, in which there are 4 environmental indicators, 3 social, 2 economic, because one of the economic indicators is that was the diversity of economic activities. I mean, because they fear to be in a tourism monoculture. And one political indicator, which is what have the government in place, what have they promised in their campaign in environmental terms, and how are they delivering that? They come out with this traffic light on the media, but it didn't really work. I mean, it faded away. It was so. What we found, I think, is the lesson, is that it has worked, and it's working very well to present to the local society the indicators one by one. We make a jornada, a day of, so for example, Posidonia. And then another day with another indicator, with 1 month between one and the other. The press is there, the government is there, they open the sessions, and this has worked much better. I mean, it's permanently in the press, in the local press. Well, the mooring, Posidonia, the garbage, which is another indicator. Any of them, the cruises, the salinity of the water table, and so on. And we have found that this works very well. I mean, we wanted to present the whole view of all the 10 indicators at the time, and it really doesn't work as well as one by one. So, and then the other, so that's for whom, but at the end is what for, of course. What for? We want to review our priorities. We want to adapt management and so on. We want to. This keeps participation alive because each of the actors comes with their own indicator and they feel proud of that. And they are doing something for their whole, and it really keeps the coherence towards a long-term objective. Of course, the citizens are much better informed, and all this helps to make some political pressure, because at the end what we want is that those that the decision makers take decisions. If we are going on the wrong direction, we want, or if we need more budgets or whatever, we need more support. But the politicians will react if there is social interest and if it's in the media, and if not, they might not. So these are the lessons learned. If when asking what to monitor, of course, I understand that we need specific indicators, biological and pressures and impacts, but try to have a few, even 5, 6 synthetic ones which are relevant to the local society, that everybody understands. Yes. And particularly that can be taken by others. So we can meet them from time to time. Who monitors? Well, to encourage the stakeholders to provide their as Eva has been saying, for whom we do, yes, not only for our boss or for our own technical team, but if we involve the local media, use social networks, then at least in a place like an island, everybody will know what's going on, and it's very interesting. And it's very important to organize regularly presential meetings on one subject. And the media love it because they have a news, and it goes on the headline, on the heading, on the first page of the newspaper the next day. Yeah? And what for? Of course, as we said, well, to keep participation alive, to make society more responsible and conscious about the situation, so the politicians will react to it. And that's it. The organizers asked to organize lessons learned in three headings. I did it to help the reporter, but it's just the same. I mean, they say we have to move towards a common vision. Remember that a common vision has to be shared, and it's better to reduce it to some synthetic things that everybody will share and understand. It's a recommendation. And if we have to move towards, we have to be ready for adaptation. I mean, we have to understand that most of reality is unforeseeable, and we will be moving like this all the time. Yeah? But this has been said already here and this morning and so on. And here, key drivers, well, what I already said, the indicators have to be significant to the sectors. I cannot go, I think we're a bit out of time. I cannot go into another example. It's very important to have results. I mean, this keeps the enthusiasm of everybody. We need to provide some improvement, some results. That's very important. In case with the fishermen, that the fishing is going better. In case of the water table, that it's improving, or that we're taking measures to avoid impacts, things that real things that can be seen. We have to meet regularly and have presence in the local media. And the best practice I can think is to invite and collaborate with the media, at least in the local terms, and call these thematic meetings that have been working very well. Voila. Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, Arturo.
Sí.
But you have mentioned already in the beginning that it was, let's say, a case study, 2 case studies that are very small, the islands and the people are perfect, the number. So would you upgrade for a larger case study, or would you keep it local? So maybe if we have an area where it's our MPA, we should stress all these things that you have presented and focus on the local community, and all this media communication all done in this local, let's say, small scale, or it should be something upgrading in a national wide. Because these indicators, you know, every month it was very good idea, Posidonia, and then something else. But people forget. If it's on a national level, you understand that news coming always. Yeah, so it's not easy. Maybe I'm thinking it would be better to stay in a local scale, let's say, and then keep bombarding the people with information. Otherwise, it will be lost in the cyberspace.
Yes, I agree. I think where we get real results is at the local level in many things. If it's an MPA, well, first, national level, we tried this at the national level. In fact, there is an sustainability observatory of Spain. And once it was working, the first change of government stopped it, thought that was not a priority. And also, while it worked, we found that almost only the converted were informed. I mean, the people who really know that there is an observatory of sustainability in Spain is very, very, very low. And only the people who care about sustainability follow this observatory. I think that this can be much better done in an island, because people are very conscious of their island, and not so many people. And there are usually not many news in an island. I mean, especially in winter. The winters are long in the tourist season, well, but during the winters, between October, or especially November and April, wow, you really can do a lot of this work with the locals. And in case that it's just for an MPA, I would say that For example, imagine this Petrovac village we are in, and there's an MPA in front. Probably it will work in Petrovac, but probably many of the people of Petrovac do not care so much about the MPA. So I would include the MPA, but also 2 or 3 other indicators which are relevant for the people in Petrovac. I don't know which ones, but perhaps, who knows, if the water or the garbage or something else, and put them together. So we fix the MPA inside the concerns of the land people. I would try it that way, but I agree that locally much better.
Thank you, Arturo. Very valuable insights you're giving us. Maybe one short question. Is there an online question? No. One short question, and then we have to continue. No? Okay. So we can call our last speaker of this session, Rigers Bakio. Please come and present your case study.
Yes, but you need to download it first. It is very complicated, Pierre. Good evening to everybody. I'm sorry that this is my last presentation, but I hope that I will catch your attention, even this is the last presentation for today. So this is a case study related to the only one marine protected area we have in Albania, which is the marine protected. Yes, almost, almost declared. Okay, but this is the first one, the first marine protected area of Karaburun-Sazane. So I have a colleague here, and he is correcting me. So, and this is especially about recreational fisheries and small-scale fisheries, which is known for most of you as artisanal fisheries. So, and in this presentation, you will see that monitoring the catches together with fishers sometimes can be a good option to monitor and to assess the effectiveness of a marine protected area, like in this case, the marine protected area of Karaburun-Sazane. So I would skip this slide because there were so many slides in the previous presentation, and you have information regarding the. I don't know what's happening. Yes. Yes. Continue to ring because maybe you don't know that I'm not in Albania. But we have so many endangered species, and this would be the zoning of the marine protected area. So you see that there is a huge area, but we have some threats like illegal fishing and other risks always related to fishing, like even actually sometimes not during the touristic, not during the touristic season, but during the other month we have still now illegal fishing activities, and even in the other declared marine protected area. So you see here some parts of the zoning system applied in this marine protected area. So you have the core zone, the effective management zone, the recreational zone, shown here in the light green color, and also the sustainable development zone, which is this one. So during this presentation, I will do my best to try and show you several projects starting to be implemented since 2017. So this was a project funded by MAVA and Prince Albert II of Monaco. You see here several activities related to monitoring of fishing catches. And we applied for the first time in 2017 a protocol created during the implementation of Fish MPA Blue 2. And I can say that it was successful because you have here one image showing how it can be monitored. It can be monitored by MPA managers and fishers. These are the results of the first implemented project about small-scale fishing in the MPA related to monitoring and other related activities like training program and guidelines for rangers for Carbon Sazani MPA on fisheries management. Some of the fishers together with the MPA manager of Torre Guaceto were trained, and they saw in purpose how was organized and how was managed the small scale fisheries there in this area. Other results are linked to creation of an international co-management capacity building for the present and future fishers. So you have some photos where you can see the small-scale fishers, and these are representative of the new generation, because it is difficult, let's say, to find now new generation trying or interested to work as a small-scale fishers. And you see also a photo where how is done by an MPA manager the sampling. So all these fish individuals are provided to the MPA manager, and together with the fishers, those are doing photos and later sending them to the experts and to the researchers in order to do an evaluation regarding the effects, the real effect of MPA, like in this case, the MPA of Carbon Sazani. So these are some photos, posters, and outputs related to another project funded by the donors of MedPAN. So it is another project. You can see some very nice photos at my opinion, because you see here fishers coming from Italy, from Torre Guaceto, and they were very practical, and immediately, even though they were invited for these meetings and workshops, they started to help the Albanian fishers. So they practically they trained them how to do improvement in fishing gears and how to collect nets, how to clean them. So in-field trainings and were very important. You have other photos, so enhanced participation of local fishers into the MPA activities was also reached, and established a collaboration with the fishers of both MPAs. Also, trained fishers and MPA managers, as you can see in this second project, were almost familiar now with this new methodology, and they like to apply and to use it as a routine methodology in order to have after 6 months or 1 year the results. So the general scheme, I'm trying to show you just one of this sampling scheme, because there has been several periods, because depending on the project, because for sure we need money to push ahead and to have these monitoring activities. Mostly this money are used for the experts and the researchers, so who need to evaluate, to do all this statistical analysis. So you have the you can see here two areas, fishing areas types, let's say. So one inside, so one close to the area of Karaburun Sazani, and one into the west of yes. And one to the west of Sazani Island, which is totally prohibited to go and fishing in this area. So with the permission of the administration, we applied this methodology, and we did the sampling by using this approach, by doing some photos in a white table, and assigning for each catches if it was inside or outside. Outside is this area here. So this was compared to this area, and this area was compared to this other fishing area. So these were the guideline prepared in frame of these projects. So they knew by following this calendar when to go and how. So the managers, the MPA managers, how to sign these tables when they were doing the photos. And after all this, we get this this Excel sheets based on the estimation of the length and of the biomass of the fish individuals and other fishing subject species, in order to have an evaluation of the biomass, and later to calculate the several indicators like CPU, like catch per unit of effort, and income per unit of efforts, and also the revenue per unit of efforts. These latter two indicators are socioeconomic indicator, but CPUA can be also sometimes used even as a, let's say, as a biological indicator related to the biomass and the abundance. So you have an example here of one of the species, like Boops, which name is Vopa in Albania. And these would be the last results, where you can have a comparison between the catch per unit of effort, which is expressed here as kilogram of fish in 100 of meters of deployed trammel nets. And you can have a comparison between the CPUA values inside the fishing area close to Sazani Islands and outside Sazani Islands, which was the closest area to Sazani Islands. You have also a comparison between the area inside the Karaburun fishing area and the area outside of it. As you can see, there is not much difference regarding that period of time. But these are just examples of monitoring. So the results are that the landed catches monitored by using photo sampling methodology has been extensively used, and even in other projects, like a case can be the MPA networks, because I have a colleague, the representative of another NGO, Inca, Gendi Cromida, who invited me as an expert for implementing this methodology for and continue to enroll the MPA managers and the fishers while they were doing this monitoring. So based on that and the results of another projects, this is a project funded by WWF Adria. I was involved here as an expert also. So these are results coming from the last reports we have produced recently. So it corresponds to another time period, so other 6 months. And as you can see, so there is not a high difference between fishing inside and outside the area. But anyway, let's see that can, if we go and see the species, there is a difference in species because inside the Karaburuni and Sazani island fishing areas can be catched more precious, more profitable species. So in terms of diversity, they can. But even though if we go and compare the RPUE values, revenue per unit of efforts, so here you can see that the incomes coming from catches inside the MPAs would be higher, so it is profitable. This is apparently good results, but if we want to compare the IPUE values, which are the income per unit of efforts, which are the calculated values where from the revenues are subtracted the expenditures for the oil, because for going from the coast to the islands, they need to consume oil. So in that case, you will see that the value so are really the same. So the values of the IPUA are pretty much the same, and so fishing inside would be even worse, because if we compare just the fishing area outside Sazani Island and the fishing area inside Sazani Island, it could be in the case that it is not worth it for the fisher to go and fish in that area, even they knew that those areas are profitable areas for them. This is just to show that taking into account these indicators, so it should be highlighted that this methodology should be applied and in fact during the MPA networks and even other projects where MedPAN have been involved, it has been applied, and it has been shown that it can produce a good evaluation approach. But even though the results bring out the need to discuss with fishers, and together with them it can be decided how to proceed, what fishing gears to use, what seasonality, how can they be organized, if it is possible to decide for a no-take zone. Even though, so application of this methodology needs funding, because it is an expensive in terms of money and in terms of time required for analyzing all these results, because there are many of these long sheets of Excel. So this would be the case to create a reciprocal need of communication between researchers, managers, and fishers. And for sure, let's say that a financial schemes for supporting this monitoring approach would be required as an integral part of co-management strategy for managing the small-scale fisheries close to the MPAs, including the recreational fishing, because during the MPA network, together with Flagpine and Inca, we did some manuals, and we included during this this landed catches monitoring, even with the recreational fishers, and there are still a lot of them. So I mean, fishers who are going to fish everywhere without permission and without any kind of regulation. And it is pity because, but it is true that sometimes the small-scale fishers are more penalized in comparison to those which consider themselves as sport fishers, but those effectively are illegal fishers, I can say. So that's all. Thank you. Faleminderit. This is in Albanian.
We have time for one question. Okay.
Thank you, Riggers. Luis from Cyprus Marine and Maritime Institute. Just wondering, have you had the chance to discuss these results with any fishermen?
Yes,
And if
yes.
yes, what was the
Yes,
reaction?
yes.
And maybe also, if you know, has there been any replication of this methodology anywhere else?
Yes, it is a good question, because after having all these results, we have done not one meeting, but several meetings in order to discuss with them and to propose some recommendation for the MPA administrate, but even to push them upstairs, following a bottom-up approach, because I'm sure, like it was previously mentioned even by Francesco, that sometimes the voice of the fishers need to be amplified in order to reach the ears of the politician, because sometimes those remains local initiatives, but if we don't involve the politicians, or if you don't have a good influence at the political level, if we don't have a good decision maker, of course, that you can do so many assessments, you can have the best co-management committee there, but you don't need to expect such marvelous results and outputs. Regarding Albania, in more specific, we have let's say a high rate of immigration now, and for this reason I mentioned that there are a few people interested to go and work as fishers. And the political level should be more influenced by these human values and these landscape treasures we have, and we call them protected areas, in order to do a good decision, let's say, because actually, if I may present. We are having a boom of tourism sector since more than 5 years ago. So it is good, but if we want also to preserve the nature and to have this protected area, we should find an equilibrium. And for sure, it would be a sustainable development of these activities, like fisheries, held by the local communities.
Okay, thank you. We don't have any question online. Okay, so we can go on with a general discussion. We have to focus on the objectives of the session that I remind in the first side of the session. You can put the
Can we please have the slides from the beginning?
Yes.
So in the meanwhile, I would just like to thank all of the speakers. I think we heard some important topics today. Maybe just to outline that Eva has presented the interesting case of the online platform, which could be really useful in a broader scheme. But the question is how this could be useful as well as for the researchers and also as well as for the MPA managers. I think what was interesting for me, what Arturo stressed, was also the importance of sharing good results in order to keep the momentum going, of working together for good collaboration, and also the usage of media coverage, which keeps also the question in the air. So in order that it's an important topic that's going on. And I thought it was really interesting how the photo sampling methodology actually enabled fishers to immediately send the collected fish, the data about the fish to the MPA managers. So this is also one example of how modern tools can be used in order to be collaborated into MPA management effectiveness, like how do you say, like at time point value. So now I would like to open the floor for a general discussion. We still have a few minutes since we started late. And maybe we have an online question, or maybe we have a question or a general overview of some of the participants in the room, what they feel, or maybe they already have example of a driver, what good collaboration between MPA managers and researchers could look like, besides the 3 study cases that were presented today.
This is an example of a question that we would like to answer. This is because from my experience, not our, sometimes it's difficult to create a real relationship between scientists and managers, because often managers have needs that are different from the objectives of scientists, different from the objectives of the research. So how we could find a solution in this case, how we could increase the collaboration, the relationship between scientists and managers.
So I'm Eli from Spain and Lebanon. So technically this question is something that we face a lot. Personally, my background is more scientific, and now my job, technically I work in the ecology part and the management part. That's why I can see both of the word. And it's true, we have a lot of not a common interest actually. Sometimes scientists have different agendas than protected area managers. But the thing that we are doing actually, and it's working so far, is technically involving these scientists from the first stage of, like, when developing management plan for protected areas. These scientists are involved from the first stage, and this is technically helping getting their experience first. Second, making sure that every step taken during the management plan could feed in their interest as well. This way, they will be supporting our work, and we will be supporting their work as protected area managers. So technically, yeah, just as when we think about participatory approach, not about just involving local people or like marginalized communities. Technically, it's about involving even scientists or any relevant stakeholders. So that's it. This is my comment. Thank you.
Okay. There are any other input or ideas?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Aylin. I'm from Demat, Turkey. When I read the question, I actually had to read it a couple of times, not because of the English of it, to be honest. But when I read that scientists have the need to publish in order to increase their impact factor, I don't fully agree to this sentence, first of all, because sometimes scientists do science just to do science, and it doesn't necessarily need to have a conservation need of it. But for the MPA management part of it, I think that I'm a researcher myself as well. But what I see is as a researcher and the MPA managers, politician, unfortunately, we don't speak the same language. I think this is the problem. Yeah, so it's not like scientists want to be cool and have all these impact factors, and politicians doesn't care about science. It's more like we don't really speak the same language, so we don't understand each other. That's how I see from my point of view, to be honest. So I think the common vision is to speak the same language.
We're saying the same thing, basically.
Yes, we have another question that is focused on this translation.
Maybe what we were trying to bring forward with this question is that we understand that approaching a problem is different from an MPA management point of view than from a researcher point of view. And I mean, it's difficult also for us to think about common grounds, and that's what we're asking you. If you have some ideas, or what are your drivers that could be, you know, implied into a management aspect. That's basically what we're asking with this question. And what we were thinking is that it's very important to incorporate researchers into the management aspect, but to make them understand what are the main goals of a management point of view, so that collaborative questions can be formed from the beginning. But having this vision, a common vision, is very important to start from.
Thank you. Genti Kromida from Inca, Albania. I think the issue is not to put scientists into management or vice versa, management into science. Both have their own objectives. It's okay to have their different objectives. The issue is that, at least in the case in Albania, management is not based in scientific data. So management do not use whatever science is there, whatever knowledge is there. And on the other hand, the problem we have is that some of the time scientists don't share their data. So this is the issue. So they don't have to speak the same language. They have to speak whatever language they speak, but at least data has to be available. And then we have to work a little bit with managers to improve their capacity in understanding that management requires data that comes from scientific. Then the best scenario will be that science addresses the needs of management, but this is like the next level. First of all, we should insist that at least managers use science for management, and scientists share their data more openly. Thank you.
Now, Arturo.
Thank you. Perhaps depends on the scientists. I mean, some will and others will not, because if your research is I don't know, biochemical, well, then you don't mind if it's an MPA or not. But if the scientist is interested in the impacts or effect of pressures, human pressures, then it's a great ground, an MPA. And also MPA can provide an area that is supposed to be stable for much time. You can have your plots for many years in the same place, and that's controlled. That's interesting, but would depend on the interest of the different researchers. Some will be very interested, and others not. And I totally agree with the colleague before that they should provide the data. I mean, sometimes they go away and they publish in their journals. And no, there must be, I mean, an agreement before that. Any publishing has to be given back. Even the researchers should come back and make the presentation of the results, because many times the fishermen and the locals and the guards have helped them in the field, and then they leave with the data and you never know again. I know places where the locals don't want to guide any more researchers because they've done that for years with enthusiasm, and they said they never come back. We don't know what was the result, and once again, that's very important.
Pierre?
Yeah. You can.
Yes, I just wanted, I'm supposed to take notes, but I just wanted to indeed build on what was just said about the need of to promote data sharing, to provide the data in a timely manner also, because this is very important. For those who were yesterday attending the General Assembly of MedPAN, we mentioned this work that we are currently undertaking, developing a cooperation charter that is document two-level like document. One is almost like let's say an ethical charter for promoting the need. Here is for the conservation of mobile species in general, where, as you know, like the need for data sharing on a large scale, the home range of the species is critical. So one part of this document is really a kind of like almost ethical charter to promote the need to share data, to promote open data sharing. And the second one is really in the form of concrete memorandum of cooperation that is customizable and that any MPA with research institutes can adapt to their needs. But this is just to say that we are doing this work because it is an issue that has been raised so many times within our network. And it is indeed to understand that and admit that indeed researchers and managers do not have the same objectives. And this is fine, exactly as you said. And I think the matter then is to find a common ground. You said earlier, when combining several recommendations that were made, I took note that you said it's important to set like reasonable number of meaningful indicators that are meaningful and that are relevant to sectors. And in this session and your presentations, we went beyond the scope of like collaboration with researchers as academic researchers to talk a lot about citizen science, but I think what was said there is exactly the same. You mentioned, I think, Rogers, some indicators for working with fishers and getting them involved also in collecting data, such as catch per unit of effort, revenue per unit of effort. These are data that are relevant for the fishers and that are good to engage them also in the monitoring effort. So finally, it's about thinking of the same with the researcher. What is the common ground? What I just think is very important and always a frustration for the MPA managers is that sometimes so they don't get the data in time. Let's say they are like they need data on like mapping for like turtle nests. If they get the data 1 year after, it's too late. They needed them now. So this is a frustration, of course, and sometimes they also get a lot of data, but they are not relevant to management. So in the approach we have to drawing this memorandum of cooperation, it's also important to mention that MPA managers do not need all the data of the researcher. They need those that are meaningful to a management purpose.
So, hi, everyone. My name is Magdaleni. I'm from the Department of Fisheries and Marine Research from Cyprus. And I also have another opinion. I believe that MPA managers should take part in the actual research, because then if they just take a report and they read it, they might not even understand what is going on. They might see something that the researcher might not have seen just because it's important to them, and the vice versa. Researchers should be part of the MPA management. Just because then they see what the MPA managers, the objectives, and also sometimes their results might not be interpreted in the correct way. And the same thing with the fishermen. Everyone should take part in all stages. That way the data and the knowledge is collected, is shared among them. And it's not about getting the results 1 year later, but also going through the analysis with everyone so everyone can have an input in what's going on. So thank you.
Eva from before. And I would like just to add that if we improve the communication between a scientist and manager, maybe a scientist, when knows what the manager needs, I think is more than happy to develop new method and approaches that from one side are useful for the management because of what they ask, and on the other side the researcher can publish a method on international journal. by starting the collaboration. So it's also a good thing for the MPA. And also about the sharing policy of the data, I think that right now the European Union during a project that are financed, they ask for open data. So I think it's an important point to say. I think it was this slides, it was yours in the beginning with the two, I think it's very well, yes, because you can see that there are huge place for each brain, let's say, and there is, we need to have only a small common area, okay? So if you can show that, I think it's very well done. And says that, yes, you see, you don't need to be totally okay one with another. Okay, you just need this small space, but common. So I agree with Magdalene that from my experience, maybe we managers need to do a lot of work, more work than the scientists, because we have the problem with conservation and, so we are burning for this issue. So it's okay, no problem, it's my job, I can do it. So maybe it's a good idea to develop a relationship with the scientists. I do so. I mean, I also inform myself every time, and I use the scientific watch from the newsletter. It's very, very useful. So I try to improve my skills, my information, my data in my head. So it's easier to talk to the scientists and find this common ground. So it takes more from us, from more energy and more time, but it's okay because we are doing for the right reasons. So don't shoot the scientists. No. Okay.
No, that was never our intention.
That's right. I've been on both
Yeah.
sides. And for a scientist, it's like being in a bubble sometimes. So we have to be patient with scientists. They are in their own microcosmos. So it's no problem. It's okay. Okay, thank you.
She's not agree.
Sorry, just to add something. I think if the MPA managers get out into the field more, they can become more approachable to the fishermen and the public. So then they can see what they're going through as well, what they're doing. And if, for example, a fisherman or someone within the public or tourists or dive centers want to ask something, or they want to create a new project or something, it's easier for them to actually approach the governmental bodies or whoever's in charge of the MPA as well. So, thanks.
Thank you. It was never the idea that researchers and MPA managers are two dividing poles that can never collaborate together. I think we have those good cases where they do collaborate, but we were just, trying to get the conversation going. Maybe just for the sake of the discussion, I would be really interested what researchers feel are the key drivers that would make them be interested to work on a management effectiveness point of view. Maybe some words from researchers if you're in the room or online.
Je vais parler en français, donc encore Jacqueline Gauthier de Bernardi, Aire Marine Protégée de Monaco. Et en fait, je découvre que tout n'est pas comme chez nous, parce que chez nous, en fait, les aires marines protégées reposent sur la collaboration directe, étroite, permanente avec les chercheurs. C'est-à-dire nos AMP sont nés d'une initiative du prince souverain, mais en même temps de l'impulsion des scientifiques. Et encore aujourd'hui, tout ce qu'on fait, c'est grâce à eux et c'est avec eux. Donc, en fait, on est un peu un cas exceptionnel. Et c'est pour ça que je suis surprise d'entendre ce que vous dites. On fait tout ensemble, on vit tout ensemble, on réfléchit ensemble. Et souvent, l'impulsion, c'est par les chercheurs en disant, tiens, on devrait faire tel suivi, arranger tel protocole. Là, il y a un protocole qu'on a appliqué sur des suivis de récifs artificiels qui ne convient pas. C'est le chercheur qui l'a proposé en disant, tiens, on va voir ça autrement. Et en fait, on en parle ensemble et c'est vraiment une équipe soudée. Je ne vois pas ça, moi, dans ma vie à Monaco. Donc, pour une fois, nous, on ne fait jamais rien comme tout le monde. pas toujours dans le bon sens, mais je trouve que chez nous, c'est pas mal. Donc, ça fonctionne très bien, en tout cas.
I think in Monaco you have a really good collaboration going, but unfortunately it's not the case for every MPA in every country. Yeah.
We do have continuous projects in Turkey and in Montenegro on cetaceans. So we work with dolphins and whales, which are the top predators, and it's really important to include in MPAs. I partly agree to the managers, fully agree to the researchers, but to be honest, when I do because it's hard effort for us, you know, fundings are limited. No one want to give money for research, but the budget is limited. Local research capacities are limited. So we are also hassling with our own situations in countries like Turkey, Montenegro, because these are the places where the resources are the least, to be honest. And we are working over there for the last, I don't know, like more than 10 years right now. And when I see the data getting used for MPAs, that makes me only happy. And to be honest, I would love to work with managers because they're like, yes, we publish like in peer-reviewed journals and all those stuff, but that only satisfies my ego. And I don't like that. I want the data to be used in the MPAs because at the end, we're here to protect the vulnerable animals. If it's just piece of paper, it doesn't mean much. So I think there's again a misunderstanding that the researchers doesn't want to collaborate with the managers or the managers doesn't want to collaborate with the researchers. It's from my point of view, the only thing we want is the data to be used for the MPAs because that's the one main tool for the protection of the species.
Thank you. Yoros Payaras from the Department of Fisheries and Marine Research in Cyprus. I think I'm going to challenge you a little bit because I feel that the answer is here. We have been listening to presentations and I think more or less we know the answer. The manager or the management committee has the obligation somehow to set the overall goal, which is the conservation of the MPA, which is absolutely clear and it is not negotiable. So I take some points from Arturo's presentation where he spoke about targeted objectives, limited objectives, and I think that if there are objectives, indicators, not objectives. The indicators, there is potential for everyone to monitor an indicator. There is, I think, clear potential for scientists of different disciplines to participate, and the managing authority, the manager, can even use a kind of MOU with the different institutions and partners in order to make everything very transparent, very clear, and send specific time schedules for every objective and every deliverable. Thank you.
I just want to build on the MOU suggestion. I know that in case of Slovenia, that one NGO, which is specifically researching marine mammals, has an MOU with the Landscape Park Strunjan. Basically, they collaborate in a way that maybe sometimes the Landscape Park offers them resources in terms of they can use the boat, and in terms the NGO gives them information about not just marine mammals, but also seabirds that are present in the MPA. So there's an ongoing collaboration and exchange, and everybody knows where their place is in this MOU or this collaboration. So having something written is very useful, and I think the charter of it's the cooperation that MedPAN is preparing would be a very useful tool in this sense.
Okay, just to be practical, I have two examples. Technically, for us, like to involving, let's focus on local researchers when speaking, because this is like the main thing that to involve the local stakeholders, the local researchers. So first, we are making like some committees for researchers in a way to give them this power that yes, they are listened for the management of this area. So this is helping us build a communication with them and make them be involved, not just on like as a job. Yeah, you get paid for to do this research or to give us this data. Technically, to be involved more on the values level, because you have the power to help supporting this MPA as a committee first. Second, we are as panel, now we are developing an application for data collection for biodiversity that could be implemented by citizens, but at the same time that could be implemented by researchers, because making everything look easier is better for everyone. Even if you're a researcher, you like to do it quickly, easily, and practically. And this is the thing that is helping us communicate with researchers. Technically, all researchers are technically now okay with us being like MPA or NGO, and they are just working with us towards the same objective, because it suits their needs, because data is the thing that we want and they want. They want for research, they want for conservation. So let's help them get more data and well, like applications, platforms, give them the free, like some freedom to work in the field. This is will be beneficial for both of us, I think. Thank you.
I wanted to share one thought also. It's about an experience we had not long ago in a training we organized with MedPAN, several participants. It was on cetacean monitoring and conservation. And so it was like very technical training on a boat, several days, doing sightings, like learning how to, from A to Z, really from the management questions they have, to set like a monitoring strategy, to do the monitoring, collect the data, process the data, analyze the data, and make some assumptions on like management measures that could be taken. So the full cycle, let's say. And it was, when we debriefed, was very interesting, because some of the participants from Croatia told us, but you know, we are not the one which on a daily basis are going to be able to implement this field monitoring. And we know that from experience that like monitoring cetacean, for example, is really like something heavy, much too heavy for most of the MPAs, and they need like collaborations with scientists, with researchers, with scientific NGOs. Otherwise, they are not able to do it. So still, I was a little disappointed. So how useful was it then that you came to this training if you are not the one to use? Said, yeah, but it's critical that we take trainings like this, because when then talking to the actual scientific NGO that will do the job, they are very top specialists and experts, and we are lost, not knowing what kind of data we need to answer our questions. So at least here, with this training, we know that next time when we meet them, we know a little bit about the topic and the kind of data that are needed for us to assess the effectiveness of the management measures we are implementing. And so when thinking of us, this is like really a thought we have, that next time we'll have this training, we believe it would be good to have everyone on board, to have the MPA, and in the case of Croatia, so it's a scientific, well, NGO that is like working with almost all the MPAs, to have them on board, because they're all doing a very good job, but they don't speak the same language as was said before. So I think it's really a matter of speaking the same language, understanding each other most of the time.
So who will write the translation book?
I don't know, but no, it's to me like, think of training as like a moment of almost mediation, you know, between the one and the other, to get them around the same table and along this full cycle, you know. It's a lot of what you said, like talking about like that. Probably one of the key recommendations is to associate the researcher from the earliest, whenever possible, from the very first stage of the management planning process, which is usually a recommendation that applies to all stakeholders when you think of participatory processes.
I just have a question for MedPAN. Is there any way of a workshop on advocacy? I really want to learn how to speak with the managers, because when I feel like the data is useless, it really breaks my heart. So I want it to be in the field to be used for the conservation, but I don't know how to do it. And it would be great that there's a workshop for the advocacy that we could join and, you know, learn the key skills.
Also addressed to policymakers, I think.
Yeah, but as a matter of fact, this is what we are trying in a way to do here, having you here with managers and talk. And this is what we will try doing, like following the example I just gave next time. So I guess for us so far, the plan is to keep it within the topic of a training. For example, talking about cetacean, there are NGOs working on cetacean, talking about turtles, they are. So it's to have them on board next time we have the trainings, so that they are the one that the managers need to work with. They cannot do the job. Like for most of the topics, yeah, they need you. And you need them also. So I think with following it like a very topic approach, like depending on the training we do and who are and like the scientists working on this topic, of course, I think this is the idea that I just shared with you to include, to have the scientists on board this training. But maybe there are other ideas, like I will think, but I don't have a like immediate answer to this idea of advocacy workshop, or it's maybe something to explore that could be really good indeed. Yeah.
Thank you. This brings to my mind, there are two small fishing reserves in Spain. It's not exactly an MPA, but results are almost the same. It's a category there is there, in which the objective is to to keep this fishing stocks and to keep the traditional activities of the traditional fishing. Here because of the law, they allow the manager every year to establish the fishing quotas for the next year. And fishermen love this because they know that the fishing conditions change from year to year, and they don't want to keep the same quotas for 10 years because things change, and they love that they can adapt it every year. And how is it that they've done the manager? I mean, they have a commission of fishermen and scientists. And they agree, whatever they agree, the manager approves. And so the fishermen come with their own data. I mean, they've been fishing all the year and using them. They know their efforts and so on. And the scientists have been studied, have been researching in the area, and whatever they need to agree, they agree between themselves. And the public administration, that's the manager, believes what this committee proposes, because it solves the two objectives of the reserve: the conservation and the social well-being and the social peace. So the researchers are interested in the conservation of the reserves, and the fishermen in the social well-being. I mean, so the agreement between the researcher and the fishermen is approved for the next year, and it works so well because it is a result on itself. I mean, they want to go on because they see that next year the fisheries have improved, and even the sizes are getting better, and everything improves, and the researchers are happy, and the fishermen as well. And I don't know if this can be done in other situations. I mean, allow the fishers and the researchers to work together, and whatever they propose, the manager will take it as acceptable. There are two cases in Spain. If you want to follow them, I can give you the.
We will allow one more response, and then I think we need to slowly finish the session.
sorry, one final comment. So we're talking about a communication gap between researchers and MPA managers, but in my opinion, MPA managers should have some level of background of the marine science. Otherwise, how can they make legislation decisions or opinions, or have an opinion in general about the marine environment if they don't know what they're talking about? So yeah, sorry, that's my final thought.
Okay, last, but really last.
Just to comment on that, I do believe like the managers should be the link between the scientists and the locals. For example, once I was a scientist and the local talked about the fishing, and he told them like there's a lot you can't fish, like just like that. For local people could take the statement as something very negative because they could lead to a bad impact just because a scientist didn't use like the right word with the local guy. Maybe the management body should be this link between the two words actually, and this would be interesting.
I think that often that is the case. And I also, if I reply to the previous comment, I don't believe that all MPA managers are just oblivious of the research. And I think that the majority of them have some kind of research background, but it's the specifics that cannot always be, you need different people from different backgrounds to have the nitty-gritty things that make a good management plan. So if we're talking the scope of a valid management plan. So Valentina, if you allow me to close the session, just saying that thank you all for your very valuable insights in this very important topic. I think Pierre has taken many notes, and we will take them into consideration. And now I think we all, and sorry for the online participants, but we all deserve a drink, and the Cogito cocktail is happening now at 7 in the Kafana room. So you may proceed to that. Thank you very much.